In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple raised planter for about $20. So here's an inexpensive and easy project that you can do with your kids that's very useful, and they can learn how to grow things in it too. So this raised bed is about $20 in materials, and it should only take you how long to make it? Was it fast or slow?
Fast.
It was fast. In this video, we're going to show you how. To build this planter, you're going to need 4 1x6s or cedar fence pickets that are 6 feet long, a 1x2 that is 8 feet long, and a 2x2 that's 8 feet long. All in all, it should be under $20 in materials, and there should be very little scraps. So all of the cuts are just square, straight cuts. So you can use a compound miter saw or a chop saw like I'm doing to make all of the cuts, or you can use a circular saw with a guide. The cut list for this project is in the plan that's linked below in the description. This plan is optimized to use almost up exactly everything on the shopping list. So follow it carefully, and you should have minimal scraps left over. This is a great project to work with kids on. Ideally, I'd like to have it all cut out and then they help me, because their attention span is, only about 15-20 minutes long. If they don't see major progress, they kind of get bored, or at least mine do. So I like to cut it out first and then have them be part of the assembly process. You can see I lost my little helper right now. He's on to designing his own thing. So to start building this, I started with the 2 sides. So it's just the 2x2s, and I lined those 1x6s or the cedar fence pickets up with the outside edges, and just use 2 screws per joint. Those screws are 1¼ inch self-tapping Starhead screws, and I think I found them at Home Depot, and they drive really well, and I think these had the bigger head so that the head doesn't sink into the wood too far as well. So once I got the 2 sides done, it's just as easy to add the longer sides. Now, while this plan is easy to customize, I wouldn't recommend going too much wider than this about 3-foot spacing, because after 3 feet things start to sag. So this is a really good size here. If you're going to go longer, you might have to have more legs in the middle. Alright, he got back into the project. He's interested again, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can move it down to his level and see if he wants to help. So this is a great project with kids. Many of you may be like me, with kids that are home and around you 24 hours a day, and you're trying to find ways to keep them busy and not just on a screen all day. And this is a great way to have them do something productive, get their minds moving, and get them some pride. So he really wants to grow something in this planter now because he helped build it. These screws that are self-tapping, they're so easy to drive too, especially if you're using the cedar. So I highly recommend them. I'll leave a link in the plan as well. There it is, looking really good. So my garage floor isn't quite level in that spot. You'll see in the end that it did work out. The project is very straight. But I'm putting these guys in there just so I have something to put a bottom in the planter. And you could use a 1x3, and you can actually place that higher or lower depending on how deep your soil needs to be. So, and those are just 1x2s in there. I think a 1x2 is right around $1 a stick for those guys, so really inexpensive. Now, this is the 1x2 scrap that's left over from that 8-foot stick. You can just kind of lay it in there on the ends, and then I'll fill in the middle with the 1x6s. So you don't need a solid bottom on the planter. It's actually good to have the ability to have some water drainage. You would want to drill holes if you were using a solid bottom. Anyway, so I like to do it this way, and then I'll line the inside with landscaping fabric or something to keep the dirt from falling through the hole. So this allows for good drainage, and it's economical, and if you're using the cedar fence pickets, it's cedar too, so it's naturally rot resistant. So I'm using the 1x6s here, and I do not recommend it. The only reason I'm using them is because we're doing the shelter in place and limiting our trips to the hardware store, and I didn't want to go to this hardware store just for the cedar fence pickets. Turned out really awesome, and it was extremely sturdy. It's nice and deep. It's almost like 10, 11 inches deep inside. There's plenty of room for maybe even carrots in there. I'm thinking we're gonna grow lettuce and things like that in our planter. Thanks for watching me and Hayes' project this week. This is a great project to do with, he's a kindergartner, so any child about his age or older would love working on this project. It's all very simple techniques. It's definitely something that, and the best part is it was only about $20 to build it. So this is a raised garden bed, and what's so great about it is it brings the planting height up to a level that it's easier to weed and take care of your plants and water them. This is everything, so the entire bottom is in there, and we just need some soil and some landscaping fabric and some plants to get this thing going. So the plans are linked in the description below, so head on over there and download that and get this built with your kiddo. Thanks so much for watching this week. We shall see you next Monday.